Good morning. Welcome. This is the Minnesota Crossroads Career Network webinar this morning. I'm going to kind of pause here a little bit until as people are rolling in. I see people coming into our chat here. Welcome this morning. Just give a bit of a pause and we'll get started here shortly. I know a lot of you join us from other parts of the country. We're in the Minneapolis area, but I'm grateful that others join us. I hope it's a nice day where you are. Here in Minneapolis area, it's really pretty extraordinary. We had 90 degrees earlier in the week, and today, right now, it's 53 degrees out there, which is exceptionally cool for a mid-July day here. And I think it's supposed to warm up some, but it's amazing how things can change quickly. Good morning. All right, I'll get started here. My name is 𝙏𝙤𝙬𝙚. I lead Minnesota Crossroads Career Network, and I'm really glad that you're all here this morning. We have a great set of presentations mapped out. I just want to share a couple of things before we get started. We have a short video for you that I hope is going to be encouraging and give you some insight. And then you are all here primarily to hear Christy Busia, and I am really grateful that she's able to join us. I'll mention again, but as I introduce her later, but one advantage of doing these webinars is we can have speakers from other parts of the country as well, and she is joining us from the East Coast, and so I will talk more about that when we get to that point. But I hope it's an encouraging and helpful meeting this morning, that you are able to walk away with some great insight and tools and practical help to make your job search more efficient and effective. And so we'll jump into that. And part of our hope with Crossroads is that along with helping people succeed in their job search, that we also talk about bigger issues and point to the hope and encouragement of Jesus Christ. It should be no surprise that the Bible has a great deal of wisdom for life. There's a cliche that's often used that the Lord will never give you more than you can handle. And people that say that mean well, trying to encourage someone facing challenges in their life that they have the strength to overcome. And the thing is, though, that that idea, it really is not in the Bible. There are times in our lives that we face things that are beyond our ability to handle. Certainly there have been in mine. And the Bible does say, though, that when we trust in the Lord, he'll never leave us and never forsake us. In the book of Isaiah, there's a great passage that makes it clear that it's his strength and not ours that gets us through the storms in life. It says, "Have you not known? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He does not faint and grow weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives the power to the faint, and to him who has no might, he increases strength. Even youths shall faint and be weary, and young men shall fall exhausted. But they who depend on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." That's some great encouragement. I don't know about you, but I need that infusion of peace in my life and strength and courage to get through the tough stuff. And when you face challenges in life, like maybe a job loss, put your trust in Jesus Christ and lean into his strength when you feel like your own strength is growing thin. Let me open us in a word of prayer, and then we'll continue with the rest of the content this morning. Lord, I'm just grateful that we're able to come together, even if it's virtually like this, but that we can be encouraged and encourage others. Father, we pray that throughout the morning that you impress on people's hearts and minds the things that are going to be most relevant to their circumstances, and give them hope and encouragement through whatever it is they're facing. Thank you, Lord, for all this time. May this next hour and a half honor you. In Jesus' name, amen. With that, I have a short video by Danny Gokey. You might be familiar with him. He's a Christian song artist, but has a pretty extraordinary story. And let me share my screen here. And I hope that it's gives you some insight and is encouraging for you as well.
I saw myself hanging onto her casket. I saw myself being buried with her. Well, I think fear has always been one of those things that I've had to constantly battle with. Growing up, being at church and going to a Christian school, there was a solid foundation of faith, but there was always this, I guess, gnawing in the back of my mind, is God with me? Or is God gonna leave me because of my mistakes? Am I really unconditionally loved? Is there a limit to this love, and what are the limits? I'd wake up my dad in the middle of the night and say, Dad, I need you to pray with me. He asked me what's going on. I would never tell him. I would never tell him out of fear. What if I reveal what's going on in my head, the craziness of these thoughts? This progressively went on for years. Into my 20s, I met a girl named Sophia. She was born with a heart condition. She had endured the surgery when she was young, and I thought it was fixed. Little did I know that in our first year of marriage that we'd be in the hospital together because our heart would beat around 200 times a minute. And that's when the doctor dropped the news on us. We were both 24 years old, and they said, we have to have another heart surgery. Both of us cried in the office because we didn't know how to take this news. And it was in that moment we were determined to just believe God to see a miracle. The ministry we went to, we saw supernatural things. We saw God healing people from sicknesses like that. Not everyone, but we saw enough to say, hey, we want a piece of this. We would have scripture verses posted everywhere inside our house. You'd wake up in the morning, the little apartment that we had, right on the mirror that you'd look into in the morning had a scripture verse about God's healing. You'd open up the refrigerator, the very first thing you'd do in the morning, you'd see another scripture talking about that Jesus, everywhere he went, people were healed and set free and delivered. We had scriptures everywhere. We had belief. We had faith. It was about 4 years into the process that I remember walking into the hospital. And I remember just sitting there saying, God, why? Why are we here? Why are we going through this? I thought you had all power. I thought you could do all things, and we're here in this surgery room, getting ready to have an open heart surgery. And after the first day of surgery, the surgery was not successful. They said, you need to get down here. She's not gonna make it. You need to say goodbye to her. And I literally yelled. They gave me a private room, and I yelled at the loud of them like, God, you have to save her. You have to heal her. You have to. You cannot leave me alone like this. And I remember it got to the point where she was gone. I just felt like it's such a complete loss. And once again, that old familiar thing of fear came back into my life. This time, because she ended up passing away, I literally felt in my heart like God's mad at me. And it's interesting, in one moment of loss or one moment of disappointment, especially disappointment, when you had all your hopes set into God's gonna do it this way, I just know he is because he's a good God. And I guess we translate that, he's a good God, so he's gonna do what I think is good for my life. And that's heal my wife or not let her die. It was the exact opposite. I didn't know how to embrace this moment. The funeral, there was such a numbness on me that I couldn't cry a tear. Everything that I had in me was literally drained. She was an avid American Idol watcher. I made a promise to them. I said, I'm gonna go try out for this TV show. Little did I know that when I would try out for the show, it'd be 1 month exactly after when she passed away. I remember standing in those lines. I remember tears falling down my eyes because one moment I was happy, excited, like this could be a possibility where something good could happen. But the other thing inside of me was like, how am I gonna live life, this new chapter without her? There were several audition processes. The very first audition, I made it through. I remember going to my next auditions in October, and I remember feeling such a depression to the point where Hollywood Week came. I'm in my hotel room, and I'm not even sleeping at night because I'm dealing with these debilitating thoughts again. God, are you with me? Are you with me? I remember even to the point I thought you could do all things, and we're here in this surgery room. You have to. Getting ready to. You cannot leave me alone like this. You can't. It is obsessive compulsive thinking. it would just ride on my fears, and it would just increase and increase and increase and increase, to the point where when I finally made it to top 50, I literally looked at God and said, I don't know what's going on here, but I do not want to go on this TV show. I'm a mess, and I'm gonna look like a mess in front of all these people. There was this verse that kept coming around. I mean, it was coming in the most random places. It was Psalm 46:10. And it said, be still and know that I'm God. What does this mean? Do I just need to just calm myself down and say, you are God? I literally would try that, and yet nothing would work. As I looked into the Hebrew of this verse, when it says, be still and know that I'm God, it says, stop striving, stop fighting, let go, cause yourself to let go. I saw myself back in that moment, as they're burying my first wife, I saw myself hanging onto her casket. I saw myself being buried with her. And something began to happen. Every time the anger would come back about the why or the questions, I would just tell myself, no, I forced myself, I caused myself to let it go. And it was almost like God pulled this cork out of my heart, and these negative emotions, the bitterness just drained through. Little did I know that my grip hanging on to the things I didn't understand, to the things I felt justified in, were the very things that were pulling me down. But once I let my grip go, once I let it go, God answered my prayer. I didn't want to go into American Idol, but at this point, God reinvigorated my soul with life again. There were so many people who had written me on social media and wrote me letters. There were several stories of people who were going to take their life. Literally, one lady said she was going to take her life, but she heard my story on American Idol. She heard me crying in a different room, and she decided to put her gun down and to give her life to the Lord. It was story after story. I was happy. I took third place. Did I win? No. But you got to understand, this guy who came from such a small nothingness now had this opportunity. Now did things get way better after that? They did, and then they didn't. I ended up getting dropped from my first record label. But in that time, God whispered that music wasn't over. I got remarried. I met my second wife, 𝙤𝙤𝙬𝙀, the unexpected chapter in my life. And it was about 5 years after American Idol. In the most unlikely places, I had a record label ended up signing me. And it was several years after American Idol that I started seeing the success of my music. I started having kids. I just started seeing more and more doors open up. I don't want to stop yet. You know, as a young kid, I didn't believe Christ was enough. I believe it was Christ, plus now I got to do X, Y, and Z. One of the most profound things that I've learned in my walk with Christ is that He is enough. I lean towards Jesus more than ever before. I wish I could say that it was a complete change, but it's a slow by slow change. And it's just an everyday getting up and moving forward. My name is Danny 𝙤𝙤𝙬, and I am second.
There we go. Pretty powerful. I certainly can resonate with much of that. I know in my own life that it's when I have finally decided that I have nothing left, that I can't do it myself, that God has shown up in tremendous ways. And there's times, you know, I think when I consider myself a fairly resilient person, that I can always have another gear I can shift down to and grind it out to get through things. And it's hard for me to say, I can't do anything here, that I'm at a total loss. And until I really meant it, then it's when God really showed up in dramatic ways in my life. And I never wish anybody to go through hard times, certainly, but if that's what it takes to really experience who He is in your life and to lean in that way, then maybe I hope that you do have something that drives you to that point. I am really glad to be able to welcome Christy 𝙤𝙤𝙬. I keep struggling with the pronunciation. Sorry about that. But she is joining us actually from North Carolina. And I'm so grateful that she's willing to do this. Christy actually reached out to me. She had seen stuff about Crossroads online and reached out and said, this looks great. Can I participate or help in some way? And I'm always grateful when people are willing to contribute in some way. But as I looked at her background and we talked the first time, I was really impressed with her perspective as well as her experience. She certainly has lived through the difficult times herself, but she comes from talent management and organizational development background for multiple companies on a large scale. She now has her own company called Next Conversation, and she can probably tell you a little bit about that when she's doing her presentation. But she is involved and understands what happens on the employer side of the world when somebody's applying for jobs and going through it. And her topic today is going to be about, after the interview, what can you do at that point rather than sit and wait and twiddle your thumbs and cross your fingers and hope for the best? Is there anything you can keep doing to keep the process moving? So I'm going to turn it over to you, Christy. Welcome. Thank you for doing this. And I'll turn it over to you. As far as if you have questions or comments for Christy, please put them in the chat, and either she will address them or I'll mention things to her as they come up, or we can discuss them at the end. But use the chat for all your questions and comments, and I'll bug out here.
All right, thank you, Harry. And just to confirm, you can see my slides right now, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. You always wonder if technology is going to be to help you or fail you. Well, hi everyone. I'm so happy and more honored to be able to join you today to help you navigate some of that. The interview's over now. What do you do with that? And I also want to give Harry mentioned that I came to him through someone that I know, and I actually want to give a shout out. She's actually on this webinar, so I just want to say hello and thank you for introducing me to this amazing group of folks that are here to rally around you to help you navigate this. So I want to give you some background and my career, and this is I can't make this up. I was part of layoffs, 2 companies back to back. So one company, moved myself cross country, year and a half later, laid off from that company, reorganizations. And then fast forward, then new company, I was actually fired for not breaking the law, for breaking GDPR law. And so I know what that looks like, what that feels like, all the emotions and everything that comes with it. And I've also been on the other side of the table, having to hire candidates and bring people in and find the right person. And so I call this my hallway experiences, because a door has shut that you can't open up again, even if you wanted to. Nope, they've deadbolted it. They've put padlocks on it. It's done, and you still haven't gotten to your next door. And somebody, you always hear, I was always told, it's when one door closes, another door opens. But the one thing that came to mind and was put on my heart, I'm like, but it's hell in that hallway. It really is, because it's so dark, it's so damp, you don't know what's coming. But in my last hallway experience, that's honestly where I felt God's lacing up my running shoes and saying, I just want you to run. I have that perfect door open for you. You just have to take that next step and move forward. And I have literally run, and I haven't looked back since. So I just want to encourage all of you that it's just a season, and it is not easy, and you have people that are surrounding you. And today I'm going to actually talk to you about what in the world do you do after that interview, all of the good stuff. So I'm going to actually unpack what is just a really quick grounding as to what in the world is that typical hiring process and why is it so painful. That's just a high level. And then we're going to get into the 5 most common post-interview scenarios. And then we're going to talk about how in the world do you celebrate all of this. And what I want to encourage you to do is hang out till the end, because at the end, I'm going to tell you exactly how to get the entire workbook with all of the goodies, as well as a fantastic workbook that my team has put together and I'm going to show you in the session. So just hang out, because you can get everything as well at the end. So don't feel like you have to scramble to take notes. Please just be engaged and present. And as Harry said, please throw your questions into the chat. I want to help to support you however I can. So as you can see there, this is the typical process. Every company has a different one, but we usually see these things. So you've hit frantically apply for a job. You apply on LinkedIn, the company's website, Indeed, everywhere and anywhere that you possibly can. We have one of our clients that to date, she's applied for over 192 roles, and we'll mention, I'll talk to you about a little bit about her in a minute. Once you get through that, you actually get put into AI. So AI continues to come on board, and companies are using it more and more. So you immediately get into the applicant tracking system, and it's scrubbing your resume and all of that, and literally determining who those recruiters should talk to first, second, third, fourth, just to get an initial screening. Then you go into the phone screen, which is usually done by the recruiter, sometimes the hiring manager, depending on the size of the company. Then you get scheduled for an interview. It could be one-to-one, panel, multiple. One of our clients had upwards, because there was an executive role, had, what was it? At last count for him, it was 13 interviews. So that's a lot. Then some companies are starting to do assessments, so learn technical skills, personality, just to get additional information. Then, and only then, do you get to the offers, and where you can negotiate terms of employment. And then you get to all of the drug testing, background screens, reference checks, all of that. And then you start and show up for day one. So the interesting thing that nobody really tells you, and from the inside, I can give you the peek behind the curtain. Until that person shows up on day one, companies will not close down that requisition or that job posting and send you the thank you letter, because they want to wait till that person starts. So this process can be very time intensive and long. And just because you didn't hear back doesn't mean you won't. But today I'm going to focus on the offer process and everything that happens in between the void. So we're going to just dive on in. And here are the 5 scenarios we're going to talk about in depth. You don't get a response. So and yes, that is a ghost. So you're ghosted, or you feel like you're being ghosted. You're not offered the job. You receive a low offer or not quite right offer. You get a just right or higher than what you expected offer, or the absolute one scenario that all of us want to have is you get multiple offers. So for each one of these, I've got some guidance and some examples and some pieces of advice that I can give you. But let's start talking about you receive no response. So you have literally gone through the entire process. So I first want to stop and pause and say, celebrate that you got through the application, the AI screening, the recruiter screening, and you made it to an interview, because companies will not invest the time to bring you on or do a Zoom interview or do any of that process if you don't meet the requirements. So they've already said, you're 100% qualified, you're 100% capable, you are what we're looking for. So definitely hold to that, because our brains make up a lot of different stories. And so want to anchor it on what actually could be happening behind the scenes. So a couple of things that we're hearing and why you're getting no responses. One, there is a sea of great candidates now. So with everything that's happening out there right now, it's not just we're hearing that there's a lot of good candidates, there's a lot of great candidates. And so now they're looking at all of the A players and looking to see A plus a little bit or A plus a little bit, and they're trying to discern between those. So receiving no response is not indicative of a lack of qualifications or capabilities. It could just be that other person has just one more thing, and it's just A plus 1. The other thing that's also we're finding happening that's leading into the receiving no response is that organizations they post that role both externally and internally. And in the time that you are going through the process, there may be an internal candidate that stepped up to the plate or has expressed interest in it. And now they're looking and evaluating that internal candidate because they're really wanting to hire from within or promote from within. So that could also be happening. Another thing that I want to share is, it's actually really it's kind of important to note that our brains really do fill in the blanks in the absence of information. So the no response, and I'd love for you to just drop this into the chat. When you're not hearing back, what are you thinking? Like, what's coming up for you? Because I can tell you what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, wow, I thought we had a great conversation. Don't you, why can't you even give me a response? What's going on? What are you, what comes up for you when you don't hear back? So one of my clients, 192 on her spreadsheet, and most of them she's heard nothing back. I think they're delaying. I must have done a poor job in the interview. Uh-oh. Yeah. I felt like I wasted my time. Yeah. I have to start the process again. Question yourself. Oh, here we go again. Yep. Delay, unsure. You cycle down into and cycle down into that depression and what's going on. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I just want to sit here and tell you that just because you don't hear a response doesn't mean that they don't want you. So let me tell you about one of my clients. So one of my clients right now, yeah, you're one of the thousands that have applied. You've been ghosted. Absolutely. So she applied for the role. She interviewed for the role. She had such a great connection during the interview, and they actually talked to her about coming back to do another round of interviews. And here's what happened. 3 weeks went by. 3 weeks, and she heard nothing back from them. And so we were just chatting the other day, and she's like, I heard nothing back. And then so she's like, I must have done horribly. Why are they not talking to me? But did they lie to me? They told me they wanted to talk to me. 3 weeks later, she gets the call asking, hey, we're ready for that next round of interviews. We want to schedule that panel. They had 7 people that they're bringing into the panel. The reason for that delay of 3 weeks is that they're trying to coordinate calendars for 7 people. So what is happening behind the scenes is that they're trying to coordinate everything, and that's causing the delay and the lack of communication. Could they have been reaching out? Absolutely, 100%. But what I would encourage all of you to do is when this happens, celebrate you got to that point in the first place. And to you guys have been all talking about, you're questioning yourself, but question yourself in a more, let's reframe it in a more positive way of, what did I do well in that interview that I can take into the next one? Is there anything I want to do more of in the next interview? Is there anything I would say differently in that next interview? And how am I going to say it differently? Are there any other examples that popped up into your brain after that interview that you want to take into the next one? So my advice, my guidance and my encouragement to you is, when you don't receive a response, use this as a time to 100% celebrate, but also reflect and see what went well and what am I going to take and move forward, because that next conversation will happen, whether it's with this company or with another company. Now, I always get the question of, should I reach out to them? Absolutely. Absolutely. One, I want you to, you can, and I'm being on the other side of the table. I know that the recruiters are slammed. So a lot of them may have 20 different requisitions or jobs that they're looking at. They could be talking to up to 100 candidates per, trying to weed it out, and their plates are full. So it's not that they didn't ghost you on purpose. It could just be that they're trying to get through the list of things that have to happen. So I know that the recruiters I partnered with internally would be appreciative of that just wanted to do a quick check-in to get an update, and was really excited about what we talked about, really excited to move forward. I encourage you to, if the hiring manager has actually given you their contact information because they handed it to you and said, hey, if you have questions, let me know. Please feel free to reach out to them and just do it. Hey, I'm really excited about this. This is what resonated with me, and I want to see if, looking forward to the next steps. If they didn't give you that information, one insider tip is you can actually send it to the recruiter and ask the recruiter to share that with the hiring manager. And then you can also follow up directly with the recruiter as well. Now, the one thing that I want to encourage you to do is use an easy button. We have AI, and AI has really helped us to streamline some of these processes. And so definitely use AI to help you craft some of these follow-up messages and communications. with a caveat. So when you're going into AI, you want it to sound like you and not like a canned email that everybody else is sending. So I actually these are ones that I threw into AI that I use Sintra, and I asked Sintra, please write me some follow-up emails and please use my voice, make it sound like me, personal, warm, friendly, engaging, and not like it is. And I even said in the prompt, please do not make it sound like it's AI generated. And so these are just some samples of what came back for me. And again, in those resources at the end, these are actually in there. So you can take this and you can throw that into AI and say, make it sound like you. But you want it to sound like you, and you want to, but you also want to have an easy button for how you follow up. So you can follow up to the recruiter, follow up directly with the recruiter. You can ask the recruiter to send it to the hiring manager, or if the hiring manager gave you their information, you can reach out to them directly. It is not bad form. I would just ask that, we just caution you, be careful how many times you follow up, because you want to create this collaborative communication and not be demanding answers or responses, because they are definitely busy trying to actively fill the role, and they really want to make sure that they're taking the time for you. All right. Okay. Now the second post-interview scenario is the one that stings the most. I'll be honest, it stings because you have all the qualifications. You had a fantastic conversation with at the interview. You got to the interview and you get the dreaded thank you, no thank you email, which says, we definitely, thank you for your time. We wish you absolute best in your future endeavors. I think we've all seen that email, and definitely lean into what you're feeling. Do not try to stuff it down. Your emotions are there to help guide you. And the question is, what do you do with that? So definitely, use that to, again, I'm going to sound like a broken record today, but 100% celebrate the fact that you got to the interview. Again, when we were hiring, we had I think 4 or 5 roles on my team. We were constantly interviewing all day, every day, and we didn't bring in a lot of candidates. We only brought in 2 or 3 at a time for every single role. So the fact that somebody made it through the entire filter, the entire process to be in an interview, we were so discerning and so picky because of how many people needed to be in part of those conversations. And there's only so many hours in the day in the workforce. So celebrate that you made it through there, and reflect. What else are you going to do? What did you do amazingly well? Is there anything you're going to say differently? How are you going to say it differently? Any examples that you want to highlight the next time? Maybe there's something that you're like, oh, that would have been a stronger example. Great. In the next opportunity, you're going to highlight that strong, amazing example. And then I want to anchor on something that a great mentor of mine told me in one of my hallway experiences, because I was feeling very down, a little depressed, and really defeated. And he said to me, he's like, Christy, look, at the end of the day, you were not rejected. I'm like, yes, I was. I was absolutely rejected. He's like, no, you were not rejected. You were just redirected. You were directed towards where you are meant to be, and this company is letting you know that this is not your direction, that you need to move in another direction. That is God's indication that he has something else for you. There's a different door that's supposed to open. So let's look at that from that perspective of, it's not a rejection for you. It's the universe, it's God's redirection for you in another way. That there's something else that you should be doing, something else you should be taking a look at instead. It still stung, but it did allow me to have a little bit more confidence to continue to move to that next role, that next role, that next role, that next job, and keep applying. Okay, now let's get into the really, really good meaty part of today's conversation. And when I say meaty, I am going to give you, break everything down for you. There's an Excel spreadsheet that helps you think through all of this. I want you to walk away with all the tools that you need. And this one is we talk about getting through the interviews, we talk about the resume, we talk about prepping, but there's a lot left onto the table when we get into offer scenarios. So while I'm pulling this up, I want to hear from you all. When you think navigating offers, do you negotiate? Do you not negotiate? What are your thoughts around that? Because I'm going to break some stuff down for you and give you the inside information. Always negotiate, Heidi. I love it. It depends on the offer. Absolutely love it. Negotiate. Yep. Negotiate. Negotiate. Yep. It's like a yes and a yes. Negotiate your worth to them. They expect you to negotiate. Yes. So yes, Teresa, 100%. So the interesting thing about all of this is that organizations being on the other side of the table, we expect the person on the other side of the table to negotiate or to come back to the table and discuss what that salary could be, the signing bonus, or any of those other things you can negotiate would be. But when we are on this side of the table looking for a job, for some reason there's this myth out there that you have to take the job the offer that you are given, or you're going to offend or annoy or tick them off. You can, if you start to go for like ask for things that are crazy, like double salary or anything like that. Stephanie, however, they may tell you up front, the pay is firm and there are negotiations. Absolutely. Pay is one thing that you can negotiate. We're going to talk about everything else that you can actually negotiate. And I'll tell you what I have negotiated in my career, because there's more stuff that you can do. And the reason that I'm saying that when you look at the offer, never take the offer at face value, because there's more to it. Everything from benefits to perks to learning and development to all this other stuff, that the offer on the surface could say one thing, but the more you get into the details, it could look totally different than what you expect. So you want to go into it with your eyes wide open and with a lot of information out there. So I'm going to show you the spreadsheet that we have put together that we're going to share with you. Hang out till the end. I'll show you exactly how to get it. So we actually have a really good tool for you that allows you to think through. You can't negotiate if you don't have the details. You can't negotiate if you don't have all your information in place and ready to go. So we have this tool that we want you to do your homework, go back to your budget, go back to all your stuff, and fill in exactly how much you need to cover everything. And literally everything from housing, transportation, living expenses, technology, health and beauty, everything, including things like your health insurance premiums, your prescription cover, the prescriptions you pay each month, all of it, because that does calculate into what you're having to cover. And then that's per month. The calculator will do all the math for you. It'll give you your actual, what you need net, and then it reverse engineers and helps you understand what you need gross. So we have the link to the IRS website so that you can put in the actual tax rate based upon what this number is. It's going to give you the tax bracket, and typically it falls within 22%, 24%. You just put that number in and it tells you, based upon this is exactly what you need at a minimum to cover how you are living today. That helps you get to a place of exactly what you need to do. The other thing that I would encourage you to do as well is go out to the job market websites, and in the tools that we give you at the end, we have six great places that you can go to find out what does the market bear for this type of role. So what is the average salary based upon my level of experience, based upon the geographic location. So, when I was in my hallway moments in the first layoff, I actually put it out there. I was living in Los Angeles and I was moving to Charlotte, North Carolina, and let's just say the cost of living is dramatically different across those regions. And what I was getting paid in California actually would be go a long way in Charlotte, North Carolina. So that helped me to see what that what that salary would be geographically, because that is also what companies are looking at. They are looking at cost of living in New York versus cost of living in Idaho. They're dramatically different. So salaries are going to look different. But see what that number is, see what you need to be able to cover your monthly expenses without being under hardship. And we even have it baked in here, fun money, leisure, going out to eat, things like that, so that you're not, what does it cost you today? Because then what I want you to do when you get to those offers is you take and you put the future expenses, because sometimes there are things that the company covers that you're no longer having to pay, or vice versa. So let me go back and show you and talk through that. So let's talk about you receive a low or a not quite right offer. This actually happened to one of our clients, and the first thing after we were chatting about, what was coming up for her was, wow, they really don't respect me. Wow, they really don't value me. Wow, that's all I'm worth to them. And I'm curious to hear from you all. What do you think when you get a low or not quite right offer? But I can tell you, behind the scenes, what's actually happening is that is what the company has allocated or budgeted to be able to cover for this role. And they may absolutely not be able to go beyond that without something else having to give. And so part what I would encourage you to do is to look at everything. So yes, they don't value me. They don't want to. Yes, exactly. You hear all kinds of. A lot of your brain is making up stories. Your brain makes it up. So we want to go into the facts so that you can come from a position of confidence going into that discussion and just ask for what you need, which is why I say do your homework with the sites of what the market bears. Do your homework of what you absolutely 100% need, so that when you get that offer, even if it's low or not quite right, you can literally bump them against each other. And I'll give you an example. So one of our clients, when they got a really low or not quite right offer, and the first thing that we did is we actually pulled out, the company sent over, I said, ask for a couple days to think about it, because you really want to do your due diligence. You want to make sure you have all your information. Ask them for a copy of their benefits package, the benefits document. They expect you to ask for that because it's part of your total compensation. And so we started uncovering or pulling back the curtain on, well, you're going to be paying less health insurance premiums. They're actually going to be covering more. You have lower out-of-pocket costs. You have lower, more's being covered over here. Oh, wow, they're going to be covering your internet. They're going to be covering your cell phone. They're going to be covering this and this and this. Oh, and you get a signing bonus. Oh, and your variable compensation or your bonus potential is higher. And they're going to do tuition reimbursement, and they're going to do student loan forgiveness. Okay, so that low or not quite right offer actually shifted to, okay, it's acceptable and it will meet my needs, and I'll get even a little bit more. And then the other kicker for that one was that it was, while the compensation was lower, the title was a title that was at a higher title. And so, as we know, as we continue in our careers, titles actually can help us negotiate a little bit more. So that's one thing to consider. I actually personally got a lower or not quite right offer. So I did exactly what I'm asking you to do. I looked at what I needed. I looked at what it pays. And I went back and I said, hey, this is, are you able to come up to this? And they said, okay, hold on a minute, let's check on that. And so what ended up happening behind the scenes is, in order to do that, they actually needed to put me at the next level in the organization, which then actually helped the other people of the team, because they had already been talking about promoting them to that next level. So they actually just moved us both at the same time. So you never know unless you ask, but you need to come from a position of confidence and know what you need, and also what you can negotiate. So let me get into the goodies on that. So if it's a surprise, are you going to be absorbing expenses? Are they going to offset it? And then there are long-term benefits. But I have 2 slides on this, and I am going to give you all these goodies, I promise. So you can actually negotiate compensation packages. base salary, to the point that you've been saying, sometimes you'll just get, this is the, so like Stephanie, the pay is the pay. You can't negotiate that. Okay, cool. Let's talk about what else we can negotiate. You can negotiate signing bonuses, buyouts. So if you're coming from another company and you're going to be transitioning before bonuses are paid out, you can actually layer that into your actual compensation package. You can performance bonuses, stock options, profit sharing. You can even negotiate benefits and perks like retirement contributions and all the stuff, commuter benefits, gym memberships, technology stipends. The one that I always negotiated was the time off, the vacation or PTO. So I never wanted to go below the PTO that I had accrued over years and years in corporate. And so I would always negotiate that. The key thing to keep in mind is that a lot of the things that you can negotiate come from a 100% different budget. Let me say that again. Most of the things you can negotiate come from a different budget. And so this is why you're more likely to get them if you ask for them. So sign-on bonuses, one-time payment, different budget, versus employee salaries. That's a fixed line item that is year over year over year. And when I see you all say you should negotiate, I agree, you should, because once you get into the company, you are now locked into the processes and the systems in place. And usually those dictate things like the percentage of merit increase. So you only get up to 3% or whatever that company does. So you'll never go beyond that. Promotions, we always had a percentage. You can never, when somebody's promoted, they can't get more than 15-20% bump in salary. So if you don't ask for it now while you are have the most influential moment, you could actually it could kick you in the tush later, because you don't have that room to negotiate, because the processes and the policies are pretty strict when you're internal, and you have to make a stronger business case. Yes, often large companies have policies regarding PTO. Yes, they do. And I have negotiated my PTO with those companies that mine was always out of policy, because I had come in with one company I was at, I had massed like 4 weeks of vacation, and the company said only 2, and I negotiated 4. So they actually had to, behind the scenes, put 4 in there for me so that I would always have it. So you can, these are little known secrets that I know can happen, and you can always ask. And if you ask and the answer is no, at least you know. But if you don't ask and the answer could have been yes, you will never know. So ask for what you need and see where the chips land. Yep, try and negotiate, but they wouldn't budge. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I just want you to ask, because then once we get to the spreadsheet on, let me just pull that back up, because here's the other tab that I want to show you of what you'll be getting, all the goodies. You can actually put that into the job and see what the criteria is of, if it is time off and it's like, you're losing time off or anything like that, you want to make sure that you take that into account, because that is something that you need, and we don't want you to walk away or this job. At the end of the day, this job could be a low or not quite right offer, and you may have to walk away, but at least you have the data to know that this is the one that you should walk away from, and that you did everything you can to ask for what you need. Exactly. It never hurts to ask. I've seen negotiate higher many times. I've even seen people negotiate unlimited PTO when that's not part of the policy. You can do it. Well, we talk more about how to ask. So we can definitely talk about that, and when we get to the Q&A, absolutely, Curtis. So let's chat. So don't hold that thought and ping me when we get to it. Okay. Perfect. Other things you can actually negotiate. You can negotiate going to conferences, training, courses, professional. You can even negotiate having a professional coach, a one-on-one coach. A lot of times our clients will negotiate the first 90 days having an onboarding coach to help you navigate that effectively. Memberships, tuition reimbursements. You can even negotiate roles, like anything under roles or responsibilities, like job title. And that example that I gave about me, I actually negotiated my title change. So coming in at this versus that was was something that was important to me. So I was able to negotiate that. So there's a lot of times when that doesn't have a financial impact, but for the company, but they can negotiate the title, the official titles. Reporting structure, team size, you can assign all that stuff. And I've even seen some of our executive clients look at negotiating severance packages, as well as, so in case something doesn't work out, what does that package and locking that package in so that they aren't leaving anything else on the table, as well as non-compete clauses and how long they would not be able to compete with others in the same industry. So this is just the tip of the iceberg, and 100% let's talk and make sure that you're equipped with how to ask for those things. But definitely start with what you have and make sure you're not going to be losing anything or leaving it on the table. And then you know what you need to ask for, and we're doing it respectfully, right? Yes, food stipend, internet, phone allowance, parking fees. Yes, and yes, and yes. One company that I worked for, it was great. I was like, wow, that's fantastic salary. But I didn't realize I'd have to pay for parking. And parking was, at the time, like 20 years ago, $20 a day. So that adds up over the entire month, as you can imagine. Okay. Flexible hours is another one. Hybrid working is another one. All of that, because at the end of the day, that not so good role, that not so good offer may actually be good because they're covering all of that, and you could actually be coming out on top. I don't know about you, but my internet every month, it's a big bill. Add that into my cell phone, that's a big bill. Those things add up over the year as well. Now, what if you get a just right offer? Like, this is fantastic. It's Goldilocks. It's great. Or it's even higher than you expect. Same thing. Pause. I know there's excitement. You're doing the happy dance. You're trying to hold it back. But I ask you to please, please, please pause and also ask for time. Please ask for time so that you can, again, pull back the curtain and look at those benefits. So we have a client that got this amazing offer, and once we looked at it, we're like, oh wow, oh no, because here's what happened. It's along the same lines. There are other things that weren't good about it, but I'll give you the one that I can share. So they're like, oh my gosh, wow, we've got so much, you have so much time off. That's great. And then we read the fine print. The fine print was, it's an entire PTO bucket that covers PTO, cool, vacation days, and you have to pull from that PTO bucket for holidays that are required that you have to take, but you have to pull it out of the PTO bucket. So the company had 10 official holidays. So there's 10 days right off the top out of this huge, huge bucket that immediately got wiped away. And you had to use this PTO bucket for sick time as well. So usually some companies have those as separate buckets, but in this case, it was just all one big pool, and you had to pull from that. And so what ended up happening was that, that was a huge deal breaker for this person until we negotiated. And so you want to really pull back the curtain and look at things to make sure that, that you're getting that just right or higher than expected offer is a really good deal. There are some really, really large organizations that we know of that we have seen offers from that will have lower base salary and a huge variable compensation or huge stock options. But when you read the fine print, you have to stay 5 years in order to get vested to have those stock options. For the variable or bonuses, the company has to perform, and it was all on company performance versus individual performance. So it's happened to one of our clients during COVID. Everything changed, and so all of that variable, all of that performance-based compensation immediately was taken off the table because the company wasn't performing. And so what they were counting on for all of this extra huge dollar amount, I'm talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, was taken away. And so you want to really, really, really look at it. And if it really is a good offer, it's a fantastic offer, then at least you can go in confidently saying yes. Let's see if there's anything else in the chat. Nope, nothing else coming in. All right. Now the fun part is the next one is, so, after you do, am I absorbing more expensive? Am I losing anything? You get multiple offers. Now, this is where you're really like either doing there's a couple notions that come up in this one. You're doing the amazing happy dance, and then you're having the oh dear, now what do I do? This can be overwhelming. It can be truly a mind meld, a mind moment of what in the world am I going to do? How do I look at these against each other? Well, again, pause, celebrate that you got these offers, because that's amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. An offer is an offer. The company has said yes. The company wants to pull you in and bring you in, whether it's low, whether it's right, whether it's multiple. Celebrate, 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 so that you can go into this in a positive way, in a confident way, and get all the information and ask for time to look at them. This is usually the time of the webinar that I always get the question of, what if the timelines don't add up or are not the same for each company? You can always go back and ask to shift the timeline of when you owe them, when you need to give them an answer back. Because, and you can, and depending on the relationship you've built with a company, you can say, I'm looking at a couple different possibilities right now. I just want to ensure that I'm giving all of them equal and fair evaluation. And so a lot of companies will be like, yep, okay, take your time, or no, we really absolutely need an answer by X date. So then at least you then know you have a timeline, you have a deadline that you have to go with. So with multiple offers, here's the question: how do they compare to each other? And more importantly, how do they compare to your criteria? And when I say your criteria, I'm coming back to our magic spreadsheet here, because when I was going through my hallway moments and looking at roles years ago, I actually, I was dumbfounded and shocked when I saw that some of the jobs that I was looking at really were not going to, what I thought were the good ones were not. And what I thought were not the good ones actually ranked higher, and it helped me to reset my expectations or look at the offers in a different way. So in the spreadsheet, there's a couple things you do. One, across the top, you're going to fill in what are the things that are most valuable from a criteria perspective. What do you need from that role? What is it absolutely vital and important for you? I have some things that were important to me at the time. I needed collaborative culture. I needed location. Happy with where I was in the company, minimal travel, staff to support, help do the work, work-life balance, whatever is helpful for you and is criteria that you would use to evaluate them against. And then I want you to put, on scale of 1 to 10, how important is it? So you can rank them 1 to 10. You could have all of them, as a 10. I encourage you to actually differentiate across them. So some could be 10, 5, and 1. Whatever criteria you want, but pick a number between 1 and 10 and how important that thing is to you, how make or break it is to you. Then for each job, put in the annual salary, so at least you have that right there in front of you. And then for each job, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much does this job or this company meet all of the criteria that you have listed across the top? This is where it gets really fascinating, because then then the magic spreadsheet does all the work for you, and it gives you a calculation about how much this meets your expectation, your criteria for what you need in your next role. You've already decided based upon the monthly expenses if it's going to help you or meet your expectations, but how does it line up to what you actually need from your environment and the work that you're going to be doing? Really, really, really want you to sit and wrestle with that one, because that could change your perspective on a company that you thought meh. Now bubbles to the top. One company that I was looking at, it was like meh on the offer and the compensation, but the amazing things that I would get to do, the amazing experiences. I had a chance to do a startup. There's literally dirt when I got there, and we built it up 18 months to start a production. You can't, like, for me, that was extremely valuable experience that nobody can take that away from me, and I can take that with me anywhere I went. So things to think about and what is important for you. Stability could be one that you put on here. Company stability, things like that. Or company growth could be one of these. And then you can do your research to find that out. Let me pause and see if there's anything pops into the chat yet. Anything coming up as we're talking about this, because I want to make sure that we're diving into this, and then Curtis, I'm coming back to you, promise. All right, Curtis, let's unpack this. So, how do you ask for that offer, or how do you negotiate? So, so after you've already done the, hey, can I have I just need a couple days to take a look at this. Can I see the additional, the full compensation package? What else is included? You go back and you ask, hey, what will be available from a training and development perspective? Is tuition reimbursement, all of that stuff. Then you can come back to the table and say something like, and again, you can use AI to find it in your right voice and get the right wording that you feel comfortable asking, right? Because I want you to feel comfortable and confident in the way that it is expressed. Because as the way I'm saying it is the way that I would say it, but I want it to be in Curtis, your voice, right? So I'd say, you typically get the offer from the recruiter or sometimes the hiring manager, and say, as I've been taking a look at everything, and there are a couple things that I would love to have a conversation around. I happen to notice X, Y, or Z. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Because from what I'm seeing, it looks like I'll be, incurring a couple extra costs that I didn't anticipate up front. Because, from a salary perspective, is there an opportunity to, right? It's not saying I need or I want. I always ask, is there an opportunity to increase the base salary by X to offset these additional costs that I would be incurring that I didn't expect? Or are there other ways that we could, kind of put this together, like a stipend here, or, development here, or something of that nature. And then, Curtis, I'll be honest, what you're probably going to get at the end of the day is, I don't know that answer. I will get back to you. And so then behind the scenes, they're going to be talking to compensation and benefits, HR, and others to see what else is possible, because you may be the first person that's ever asked for that, and they don't know if they can provide it, and they're going to get you that answer. But to some of the other, Heidi, to your point earlier, they may have zero wiggle room, and it is what it is. Then at the end of the day, you're going to have to really, really do a hard look and see, will it make sense? It could be your absolute dream job. Like, I love the job, I love the company, I want to get in with this company, and I'm losing a little bit, but it's not, I can live with it. You may trade off that piece for the other things that you would gain instead. So you're going to need to do a cost benefit analysis if at the end of the day you tried and it didn't work. Curtis, does that answer your question? Perfect. Awesome. As if you need more words, happy to share more words with you, for sure. Want to stop and pause. Any other questions from the audience before because we're in the home stretch here before we run into Q&A, and we're going to open it up. You can ask anything. Great. Okay. The one thing that I really that I have, it's always been put on my heart, and as I'm talking to my coach, look, all of us coaches have coaches, and I encourage you to have people, you have those sounding boards, you have those people around you that can give you that perspective. The one that I mentioned on the one who introduced me to Crossroads career in the first place, she's on here. She acts as my coach, as my walking buddy and my coach. You want people that you can bounce things against. And what I encourage you to do is come from a position of gratitude. It's fascinating how our brains are wired and the psychology of everything. Probably should have introduced that. I have 2 psychology degrees, so I love looking into how the brain is wired and how that affects how we show up and affects how we move through these processes and get more confident on it. So our brains are actually wired to look for threat, because back in the day, if we didn't, the saber-toothed tiger would kill us, right? We'd be dead. So we always had to look for the threat. And so we're trying to protect ourselves. We're trying to stay safe. And so when things like this happen, like I was rejected or I'm getting ghosted, our brain immediately goes to protect, 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 protect of, oh, I must have been rejected. Okay, move away from that. Or they didn't like me. Oh, move away from that, versus leaning in and moving towards what we want instead, which is, okay, cool. Another perspective, they may just be extremely busy. They may be doing a reorg. They may be doing other things, and they just are overwhelmed. Or right now, we're in the middle of, for some organizations, they're doing the cutover between budget seasons. So one fiscal year just ended, and they're literally starting the new one, and they're trying to wrap up the other one. I'll be honest, at those times, companies come to a screeching halt when it comes to recruiting or staffing, because they want to make sure that they have the dollars and cents to move that forward. And so or they're just busy wrapping up the books. So there are other things. So coming from a positive perspective, it actually opens up your neural pathways, and your brain is actually wired to, when you say, okay, these are the positives, I'm going to celebrate this. Now you open your mind to that this is a possibility. Oh, I have more opportunities here. Okay, here's where I can follow up. Here's where I can lean in. And it creates momentum in that direction versus the retreating direction, which then shrinks your pathways. Okay. All right, so good question came in, Sheila. In the negotiation, are there phrases that you would absolutely use or not use when approaching the conversation? And our negotiations most often started with the recruiter rather than the hiring leader. Okay, so I'm going to answer these in parts. So phrases I would absolutely not use. I would definitely not use of I absolutely must, I demand, anything that is so it's and so then the flip side is, what would I use instead is I would say, hey, can we, I want to partner on this and look at this together, so that it feels like it's a discussion versus like a war, right, versus being allies to find the right path forward, versus on other sides of the table, and you're just trying to get the best deal and they're trying to get the best deal, and we're going to figure out how to meet in the middle. A great book to read, Sheila, is it's actually on my bookshelf, Never Split the Difference. Don't just meet in the middle, figure out what you really do need and come with that. And then negotiations, it depends on the company as to who starts that conversation. So sometimes the recruiter will be the one that calls you to give you the initial verbal offer. That's the starting point. Or smaller companies, it could be the hiring manager. I always asked the recruiter if I could be the one that could have the conversation, because I knew what the budget was. I wanted to short circuit the process of the back and forth. But in some companies, depending on what their hiring process states, it may have to be through a recruiter. So I guess it all depends. So whoever you're talking to, just bring to the table. Can we jointly talk about this? Can we collaborate on this? As I was looking over everything that was in the offer, I have some questions and I'm curious about, could we chat about this? Is this a possibility? Could we possibly do this, versus dictating, I have to have this? Because when on the other side of the table, I'll be honest, when I would get the mandates or the dictates, and I'm like, well, that wasn't exactly open. Thanks. It would turn it into, instead of let's look to see it together, it was a yes or a no. You don't want to get a yes or a no. Don't give them a yes or no question. Give them a how can we, right? Because that opens up more doors. And go back to the list of everything you can negotiate and see, well, what about, and maybe what about, and how can we piecemeal this together to see the whole compensation package? And one thing that we did at an organization, I was leading the global talent and OD function. We actually were looking at adding on the total compensation statements, everything and anything from your salary, your benefits, but we were starting to load into that statement that you get once a year. What are, what were the, what did we invest in you from a professional development side, a tuition reimbursement side, so that it's total compensation, not just your salary. Sign-on bonuses are included. And one note on that one, but I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you, be cautious there when you run the math. Sign-on bonuses get taxed at a much, much higher rate than salary does. I think it's like it's over 30%. So if you're getting a 10,000 sign-on bonus, you are not getting $10,000. You are only getting a fraction of that because it's at a higher tax bracket rate. Just know that up front. But back to this, celebrate, celebrate, celebrate. And here are the things that I want you to celebrate. Celebrate getting the interviews. You got to that process. This webinar is after the interview, now what? You got through all of that stuff where hundreds, if not thousands of people never made it to that point. Celebrate that others see that you bring value because they've got you to this point. Celebrate what you learn about yourself, that you're growing through this process. Celebrate that you got an offer. Celebrate that you're one step closer to that next door that is your right door. And I see another question just popped in. How best to handle when you don't hear back after the final round interview? I was supposed to hear something early last week. That's when they expected to make a decision. Okay. So it's been about, well, and I do not mean to, let me take that back. I'm not, it has been a week and a couple other things happening. One, we are in the middle of summer season. So vacations and all the stuff is happening. And they could also final round interviews. You're probably down to the top 2 or 3 candidates. So what they typically do. So on our side, we work with clients to help them set up these processes. And I've done this. We wait till all the interviews are done. And then we literally look and do what's called a calibration session where we sit down and we talk about all the candidates at the same time. And we look at them side by side with every interviewer in the same room so that we can make a decision and get all the facts. That is probably what's happening, Sharon. They're probably having all of these conversations. And at the end of this week, send one of those emails out and say, I'm so excited. I really enjoyed all of the interviews. This is what was really, and just take the sample, run with it and modify it for your voice and follow up with them. But I would say, yeah, so if it was early last week, I give it to the end of this week and I would just check in and say hello, and they'll probably come back and say, we are just super slammed and busy and we're going to make a decision soon and we'll let you know. And then even if then you don't hear it, you actually could possibly be candidate number 2. And you might have to wait a couple more weeks because this actually happened to one of our clients. They were a runner-up and first person didn't show up for work or within week 1 quit. Or candidate number 1, another client, decided that they had 2 competing offers. So they accepted one offer while they were waiting for another offer to come in. You never know what could happen. You could get that call. The goal is to get that dream job and to do, it doesn't, like all of the, God lays out the plan and the path. We have no idea what's happening behind the scenes. We just have to trust that whatever door opens is the one that we're supposed to walk through. That actually happened to you. Okay, Stephanie. So, okay, see, look, there we go. It happens. It happens. Oh my goodness. Yes. I mean, it's happened with when I was hiring people, and literally within week 1, then we got the person gave their resignation because the other offer came in. We're like, well, that's fun. And the good thing is we had the second person who was amazing as well, and we were able to slot them in, bring them on in. Any other questions before? Okay, here's what I want you to do. In order to you will get the entire workbook that has all of this information from the slides, 100%. And also you'll get the spreadsheet. It's going to all automatically sent to your inbox. What I want you to do is text the word keys, KEYS, to 33777. It's going to ask you for some information, so we make sure we get it to you. So your name, your email address, but I also want you to tell me one of your takeaways from today. But once you do that, then, and you get through that, literally it instantaneously, your inbox is going to be filled with a zip file with all of the stuff. And then I think there's a question for Harry. This is getting recorded. I think that's actually going to be available as well. So there was a sample. Yep.
It's terrific. Yes, this has been recorded. It will be on our YouTube channel. I'll run through that here momentarily to give you an idea of all that's available for you. But well, thank you so much, Christy. The great information, and things that sometimes make sense to people that have been inside companies don't necessarily make sense to people that are applying and trying to get into that company. And so giving some insight into what really happens and how things gets considered and how to address different things, I think is really valuable. And so appreciate that. Appreciate you providing all the free follow-up information for people to be able to download that and get be able to review it and apply it in their situation. Terrific.
So Harry, I'm curious, what was your big takeaway aha from today?
I think, I agreed with everything you talked about. And, over the years, I've been a recruiter for 38 years, and it's always been eye-opening to me to find out what is negotiable and what isn't, and so many things that I thought were, quick example is, this was many years ago now, but turned out the person we were placing into a role at a company, I never knew this about him prior to when he got the offer. And he said, by the way, I'm a professional bass fisherman and I need 13 weeks off a year to go to tournaments. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's never going to work out. It took them a while to think about it, but they actually gave it to him. They gave him 7 weeks paid and 6 weeks unpaid, but it worked, and he was there at that job for 17 years after that. And so anything's possible. Now, certainly there are companies that won't negotiate PTO at all. And so it's, hit and miss, but it doesn't hurt to ask, and just don't put it in a phrase of, as an ultimatum, because if they say no, you don't want to be stuck then. So just, when you receive that offer, it's they want this to work out, and so they're going to, they're not going to fulfill your wildest dreams, but they want you to come into work happy. And so
absolutely. I actually had one of my employees negotiate. He was finishing up his dissertation and needed some extra research, so he negotiated, can I get some research with the company? I'm like, yep, okay, cool. There you go. You never know to ask. So thank you for sharing your insight.
Yeah, Christy, thanks so much. I really appreciate that. I want to switch gears here a little bit and share with you all the other things that are available through Crossroads, and have to be done before 9 o'clock, where I'm jumping into our networking session, and I'll describe what I'm talking about here in a moment. Let me share my screen, and then I certainly want you to be able to take advantage of all the other help and resources and events, so that you can get as much help for your job search as possible. Hopefully you're seeing that. But everything we offer through Crossroads is on our website, mncrossroads.com. And certainly you can find the events and upcoming topics of speakers and everything else. But we also have a lot of resources on our resources page. We have a job board with companies locally that know what we do, know that great people attend, and so they post jobs on our job board exclusively sometimes. And so check those out. It's not as populated as Indeed or LinkedIn, certainly, but there are a lot of good jobs on there. And I do get feedback from employers that they've hired great people through Crossroads. So take advantage of that as well. But peruse the website for additional ideas and help and resources there as well. Locally here in the Twin Cities, or kind of our cadence each month with Crossroads, is that we have 3 different seminar topics each month. The first Thursday morning of each month is at Grace Church in Eden Prairie, and that's kind of our most filled up day. So that's a full morning thing. So we have a presentation on some job search topic, just like you heard here today. We have our networking group that meets in person on the first Thursday from 9 till 10:45. And then we have a micro job fair. We have a few companies that will come in and talk about positions they have available that you can meet with them on. And we have somebody do a presentation and a Q&A on financial considerations during your job search, and that's helpful as well. So take advantage of that. Our next one is coming up. I believe it's August 7th, whatever the first Thursday is in August. And it's a full morning that gives you a lot of great information and hopefully encouragement too. The second Thursday evening of each month, we meet at Woodbury Lutheran Church on the other side of town, and we have a topical presentation there. And then the third Thursday morning that you're on right now is an online webinar, which we get a lot of you that attend from other parts of the country. So I'm grateful for that. And we are able to have outside speakers too. Our schedule and topics and everything that's available is, again, on the website. Look for the seminars page and you can find details of what's coming up at each of those events. On a weekly basis, we have other ways you can plug in. We have, as I mentioned, our networking group that is a great way to share contacts and leads and ideas and information. And typically Wes Tang leads that, but he is out of town today. And so I'm pinch hitting for him. Not going to be able to do as good a job as he does, but that will be online. So the first Thursday morning of each month is in person at Grace Church, and then every following Thursday each month is online through a Zoom meeting. So you do need to register for those in advance and separately depending on which Thursdays you're going to, but the details are on the networking page on the website, and you can register for those anytime. And so if you still want to attend the 9 o'clock, go to the website now and register so that you get the Zoom link sent to you. We have one-on-one coaching available. You can sign up online on a request form, and one of our volunteers will reach out to you and talk about whatever you'd like to discuss regarding your job search, whether it's questions about your resume or an upcoming interview or doing some mock interview practice, or just to talk through where things are at and get some ideas on networking or whatever else it is on your job search. So take advantage of that as often as you like. As I mentioned, there's a coaching page on the website where you can fill out a form and get a response from one of our volunteers to set up either a Zoom meeting or a phone call. I am a big believer in providing spiritual support and prayer. And I'm grateful on our team, people that love to pray for you all the time. And so, but if you have specific prayer requests, there's a prayer request page on the website, fill that out and from our team will be praying for you. But if you also feel like this has really been a spiritual challenge for you and an emotional journey and want to talk to somebody a little more regularly, we have a soul care team that will talk to you and set up meetings with you as well on a more regular basis. So you can see all the details online and sign up for that. The meat and potatoes of what we offer is our online classes. It's typically an 8-week class that meets by Zoom meetings each week. And again, there you can participate from any part of the country since it's online, and we go through every aspect of a successful job search and able to do kind of a deep dive into all kinds of different topics. And while the content is really good and I think really helpful to give you more confidence that you're doing the right things in your job search, I think equally important is just that weekly light accountability, getting some encouragement and hope and support, moral support in this process. And we explore what's God's perspective of your job search and your life throughout this 8 weeks too. I think you have to be really deliberate about managing your attitude and emotional health in this process, because it's such a tough process to go through in an emotional roller coaster. And so get plugged in. We have a new group that starts each month. We have one coming up here shortly. I believe July 29th is our next class starting. So you can find the details on the website and register there and take advantage of that. Even if you've been through a previous class, join with one of our other facilitators. Everybody, although we cover the same topics, everybody brings their own perspectives and additional information in as well. We have a LinkedIn group. If you actually put MN Crossroads Career Network in the search box in LinkedIn, you'll find two things. One is our company page, which I encourage you to follow, because the more followers we have, the more exposure we get, and people can find out that we exist and take advantage of the help that they need. But you'll also find our LinkedIn group, which you can request to join. And there's a lot of great information that gets posted there. But equally important, and a way you can give back after you land in a new job, is just be available in there so that people can find you and look you up and be a networking contact for them. And so if you are looking for contacts at a particular company that you're pursuing, go into our LinkedIn group, see if anybody works there, go through the members list, and reach out to them to ask for advice and insights about how to pursue things more effectively there. And so it's a great way to connect while you're looking and be available to others and give back once you've landed as well. We're pushing close to 3,000 people in that group at this point, and so take advantage of that. We have a YouTube channel, and if you put MN Crossroads Career Network in the YouTube search box, you'll find us. But all of our webinars get posted there, and all of them from the last 5 years are on there. And so this will get posted. I'll hopefully be able to get that up before the end of the day today. And so you can review this video online, but you can also look back through all of our previous webinars and find all kinds of great topics to be able to get some good information and helpful feedback there for your job search. I just want to acknowledge we have nearly 40 people, or actually over 40 people that participate, or I should say volunteer with Crossroads in one way or another in order for us to be able to do all that we do. And I'm grateful for every one of them, because it enables us to do a lot. And so as you connect with others, thank them. That nobody's getting a paycheck. Everybody does it because they have a heart to help others and bring some expertise and put in their effort to make this helpful for each of you. If you are local here and don't have a church home, I certainly encourage you to check out one of our churches, whether Grace Church in Eden Prairie or Woodbury Lutheran Church. And services are streaming online, but I certainly encourage you to be in person as well. Our next Crossroads seminar is going to be in person on Thursday, August 7th at Grace Church in Eden Prairie. We have Leary Gates talking about the one thing guaranteed to hold you back through this process, but other things in your life too. And I think that's going to be really helpful to kind of take a look at what are the things that might be slowing me down in this process. With that, we're done. I hope it was worthwhile for you today and helpful in all kinds of ways. And I hope you'll join us for future things. Better yet, I hope you land a job real soon and don't have to join us any further, but recommend us to others, because we just want people that need the help to get the help. So thanks for joining us. Have a great rest of your day, and see you again.